Hello, my name is Darren Thomas and I'm the Director of Educational Research Techniques. In this video, we're going to use the quadratic formula to solve a quadratic equation. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, in a prior video, we discussed what the quadratic formula was and we showed you where it came from. So basically it's going to be x equals x minus x negative b, plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c, all this over 2 times a. That is the quadratic formula in action. And again, like I said, we discussed where this formula comes from in a prior video. Now, what we're going to do here is we're going to take our knowledge of this to solve an actual quadratic equation. And now I need to explain exactly what we're doing here. When we're talking about a quadratic function, we're just talking about it might loop like this or it might loop like this or whatever. We're just talking about something that is not a straight line, basically. That's one way to think about it when you're graphing it. And when we're solving for x, we're trying to solve at what point or what points that the actual equation, or you can call it a function, where it crosses the x-axis. And so what we're going to do now is that we're going to take an actual quadratic equation. It's going to be right here, x squared plus 10x plus 24 equals 0, of course. And we're going to use the quadratic formula to solve this. So the first thing I got to figure out is what are my a, b, and c terms. So the first term all the way, I guess you should say to your left, normally the one that's raised to a power. Whatever's raised to the highest power is going to be the a. And then whatever's raised to the power of 1 is going to be the b, and the constant is going to be the c, like that. So if I plug all this into my quadratic formula, I get the following. I get x equals minus 10 times 10 squared minus 4 times 1 times 24. All this is going to be over 2 times 1. So let me show with you what's going on here. The b term is 10, so we put that in the appropriate spots here and here. The 1, that's the a term. So when the coefficient is 1, you don't even put it there because a number multiplied by 1 is itself. But for the sake of clarity, we still put the 1 here because that's consistent with where you put the a term at. And then, of course, the c, I forgot to close out my parentheses. Sorry about that. And then the c term is 24. And so we know what that is because it's right here. And so when we do all that, we end up with this equation. So why don't we go ahead and simplify that on the next screen. So here's what we got. Like I just said, we got minus 10 plus or minus 10 squared minus 4 times 1 times 24. All that over 2 times 1. That's what we have. Now when we simplify that, there's lots of ways to do this. Let's see here. I'm going to keep my negative 10 out here for a while. And let's see here, plus or minus, let's see if we can make this simple. 10 times 2 is 100. And then minus 4 times 1 is minus 4. Minus 4 times 24, oh, I forgot to close it again, is 96. Minus 96. And then all that is going to be over 2 because 2 times 1 is 2. So what we end up with is, just draw a nice little line here. We end up with the following. We end up with minus 10 plus or minus 100 minus 96 is going to be 4. All this over 2. We're getting closer here. And then when we simplify it even more, the square root of 4 is going to be 2. So minus 10 plus 2 over 2. And then our other answer is going to be minus 10 minus 2 over 2. So I think we know what those are going to be. Minus 10 plus 2 is going to be minus 8. Divided by 2, this is going to be minus 4. That's one x value. And minus 10 plus 2 is going to be minus 8, and that's going to be minus 4. All right, and then minus 10 minus 2 is going to be minus 12. Divided by 2 is going to be minus 6, like that. So in other words, our x is going to equal negative 4 and negative 6. Sometimes it can also be an or, depending on the context of the problem. Now, we can verify if this answer is correct by graphing. And so if we graph, I hope you can see this, you can see very clearly that at one point right here is 4. That's where it crosses the x-axis, -4. And over here it also crosses the negative axis at -6. So I'm going to just zoom in to make sure this is nice and clear. So we've got this nice parabola here. And you can see right here is -6. And right here is -4. And that's exactly where it crosses the x-axis. So we're probably pretty sure that we have the right answer here. And so off here, you probably can't see this in your own screen, but off to the left I have the actual function here, and that's kind of how we got the answer. So we know we got the answer, we graphed it, and we also solved it by hand, and so we know the answer for this particular quadratic equation is -6 and -4. So let me go back and explain what I talked about, and we'll wrap this up. So in this video, we talked about how to solve a quadratic equation by using the quadratic formula. It's not that complicated. You just plug in the terms where appropriate and just do some basic mathematics, adding and subtracting and square rooting some values to get the answer. And so in this particular situation, we got our answer of -4 and -6, and then we verified it by graphing. That's it. So I hope this video was useful for you. My name is Darren Thomas. I want to thank you for watching, and I'm the Director of Educational Research Techniques. Take care.